What's going on, Bully fam? We got a beautiful day outside, so I figure I'd bring you guys out with me, and we'll do some more dog breeding questions and answers. So what's going on, Bully fam? It's your boy, the educator, the scientist, Mr. Double Muscle Line Bulls, bringing you another episode of Breeders Hacks. Today we're doing question and answers. So before we get started, real quick, some product placement. Look at this shirt.
Look at this shirt.
Absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Absolutely love it. Shout out to Huff Stuff Customs, right? My wife's business, she made them. They're going to be available on breedershacks.com. I may wait until the store opens up first, but I mean, hey, if you watch Breeders Hacks, if you consider yourself a scientist to the dog breeding art, you know, if you educate yourself each and every day, or even if you educate yourself once in a while, but hey, at least you continue to educate yourself. In my book, you're a bullyologist. So what's a bullyologist? A person who has expert knowledge of one or more of the bully breeds. So hey, you study this information, get information from me and other very knowledgeable breeders. You're a bullyologist in my book. But anyway, so let's get right to the questions. Jared Fitzgerald says, where do I buy Heat Shot? I think I've answered this question before, but pretty much Heat Shot, you can go ahead and get that you can get like PG 600 at a Tractor Supply, or you can get the HCG from my Canine Pharmacy Direct. Next question. Brian A says, my dog has been losing hair around her ear, mostly in the back of her ear, constantly scratching. What would you recommend? What I would say is look inside the ear. Are they scratching it because what's going on inside of the ear? You know, are they losing the hair because they're scratching it so much because of what's going on inside of the ear? That's what I would be looking at. And what I would be looking at is the black tar looking stuff. Is it a yeast infection? More than likely. And then you'll want to go ahead and check out the episode that we did on, you know, ear infection, yeast infections. And what you'll want to use is a mixture of Monostat 7 with hydrocortisone cream to help with the scratching and to kill the yeast and use its antifungal properties. So that's what I would do. Look inside the ear and see what it is. It could also be maybe an allergy. You know, you may want to use then if it's an allergy. See, like I always say, try to see if it's a food or an environmental allergy that you can fix and adjust first before you go into the meds. But if you go to the meds, there's things like Cytopoint and other things like that that you can get from your vet that will bring the allergy down. But that's what I would look at. Look inside the ear, and then you know, look at in between the paws. Is there inflammation in between the paws that's causing it? Then you know it's, you know, more of an allergy than a yeast infection. But look at those things. Mechanic Family Kennels. How do you know all this stuff? I'm a nerd. Nerd. I'm a dog breeding nerd. Not only am I a dog breeding nerd, I was fortunate enough to have a mentor that guided me in the path of, like, he was very analytical and really into like the science behind the dog breeding, and that just interested me and sparked me to want to know that as well. I wasn't really so much interested in like the notoriety or fame or any of that crap. I was always interested in it just intrigued me, just the whole scientific standpoint of it, and it still does to this day. So yeah, I'm a nerd. If that answers the question. Next question, Mechanic Family Kennels. Where do you get the centrifuge from, and does it matter if it's a blood one? It does, depending on what you're trying to do. You can use a mini centrifuge for what you would use on a large centrifuge. You can use what you would use on a large centrifuge for a mini centrifuge. It all depends on the volume, really. On a mini centrifuge, all you could really spin down is, you're very limited to how much you can spin down. Where the larger centrifuge, you can spin down semen and all that kind of stuff. So let me rephrase my answer. A large centrifuge you can use for what you would use to spin a large one and a smaller one. But over time, if you do your own progesterones and you're doing your own shipping of semen and things like that, you're gonna want to have both, because it's annoying to like adjust the settings and whatnot. It's just easier. I just have both right in front of me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But the smaller centrifuge is really more for blood, because it spins too fast and you'll wind up killing semen if you use the mini centrifuge. So hopefully that answers your question. A large centrifuge you can use for both. Mini centrifuge you really only want to use for blood, like relaxin tests, progesterone testing, things like that. Hey, in an ideal scenario, if it was me, I'd have both. Young OG Bully says, quick question. So I own a stud, and I tried to do an AI with one of my females, but he barely gave me any type of sperm. I'm talking about every time I pulled him, he barely gave me any. Do you have any tips to increase his sperm so I can get 1 cc or 2 cc's out of him? What I would suggest is, all right, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I'm working with a company, I'm working with a brand that has a product that, in my opinion, blows, this is just my opinion, blows Oxy Stud and all these other over-the-counter stuff. It blows it out of the water. I'm still testing it with my own studs, but from what it looks like, I mean, I'm getting phenomenal numbers. What I would suggest to you is stay tuned, because in the next few weeks, I'm gonna be releasing this product with this company, and I think it'll help out even studs that are producing no semen. Stay tuned for that. Shh, that's a secret between you guys and me. Don't tell nobody else, all right? Secret. Or you can tell other people, I guess, that's cool, whatever. Edwin De Jesus says, my female is 59 days into her pregnancy. I took her temperature and it is 99.7. So my question is, how often should I take her temperature? I suggest you should take her temperature twice a day, one in the morning and one at night. So when you know that it really, really drops, you have ample time to be prepared for your C-section. Because if you take her temperature and she's a 98 in the morning the next day, well, how long was she a 98 for? You don't know how much time you have. So if you take the temperature in the morning and at night, so say you take the temperature in the morning, she is a 90, let's just say she's 100. You take the temperature in the evening and she's a 98. Well, you say, okay, you know what? I took a temperature in the morning. At least if I was in your shoes, if I don't see any signs of nesting, then we know that her temperature just dropped. So rather than getting an emergency C-section, I would say, if it was me, if I don't see any other signs, progesterone numbers don't say anything, as far as that she would be in labor, I think we are good to call it, wait till tomorrow, so you don't have to pay the emergency fee. So anyway, just to answer your question though, I would take the temperatures in the morning and at night. That's your best bet. So you don't question how long has her temperature dropped for. Bully Bread Kennel says, how do you think of the Costco food is to say Victor? I've been using Nature's Domain Costco brand for years now. Have no complaints. The price is really good. I did have to switch at one point one of the dogs to the blue bag, the salmon bag, because he's allergic. I believe he's allergic to the chicken or whatever they're using in the chicken formula. Other than that, I have no complaints. I've been using it for years. And like I said, I have no complaints whatsoever. I think also sometimes people mistake. See, I do have dogs that sometimes get outbreaks. It happens. Maybe they got into something in the yard, whatever. Don't mistake that for a food allergy. So that's where it comes down to, like, really, trial and error. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. I like it. Hopefully that answers your question. Compared to these more expensive brands that are all off of name brand and hype and things like that, in my opinion, the Costco food brand, and a lot of people don't know, it's owned by Taste of the Wild. Someone on YouTube actually did a comparison video, and it was quite similar. I mean, some differences, but essentially the same. So hopefully that answers your question. And it'll save you a lot of money. But that's not why I use it, but it's a bonus and it's nice. All right, going on a tangent. Anyway, Alex Peen. You should do an episode on how to keep your dogs calm, especially during a show. Thank you. Well, so what we used to do back in the day, when I used to go to a lot of shows and stuff like that, is we would use like CBD oil, but you gotta get a high potency, like a one that's very strong, because what I've learned, and my friend actually owns a CBD company, so I know this firsthand, is a lot of it, especially for dogs, is super, super, super underdosed. So I'm gonna put a picture somewhere here. I'll maybe even put a link to a company, a brand. Their CBD is actually very highly concentrated and strong enough that you use that and it'll actually really calm the dog down. I know this sounds funny, but I also know of breeders who, what they would do is, I did this once, I'll say it kind of helped. I had a dog that was like all over the place, very energetic, very crazy, wanted to play with all the dogs, stuff like that. It wasn't my dog. It was a dog that I produced but he was I was showing the dog for the person who purchased him, right? So this dog, like I said, horn dog, wanted to hump everything. So what we did was we actually did a semen collection. We didn't use it for breeding or anything. We discarded it. We discarded it, but it brought his energy levels down. It brought all his levels, significantly down, and he was a lot more calm at the show. So that's another thing you could do too, to kind of relax them before the show. So those are two things that we did that would always work pretty well. I know there's some other tips and tricks and things like that, but those are some of the things that we would do. Maybe I'll do an episode going more in depth on that. Matthew Stubbs says, I just lost a whole litter from a C-section this morning. They got overheated and had fluid in the lungs. Do you believe I can sue? That's a tough one. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think you can, unfortunately. Because these vets make you sign all kinds of waivers and things like that. So that's where you as the breeder have to do your due diligence and make sure you're going to a vet that has done plenty of C-sections. They're not experimenting with your dogs. They're not getting taught on your dogs, things like that. I make sure I tell my vets, I don't want no students on my dogs. I'm sorry, you could do the other dogs, but not mine. So what I would say is, unfortunately, I don't think you can sue. You can try, talk to a lawyer and see, but I think it's going to cost you more to do that than anything. If it was me, I'd probably just cut my losses. But yet again, do your homework in the first place. Make sure the vet that's doing the C-section is a credible vet. And even vets, I tell people, even vets, they're not gods. So something can go wrong that was completely out of the vet's hands. So. When you do your proper due diligence, for me, if a puppy is lost or something happens, most of the time I cross my T's and dot my I's. So, I mean, if something does happen, I don't get mad at the vet. I don't get mad at the whelper. I don't get mad at myself, as long as you do the right thing and do your research and like I said, cross your T's and dot your I's. Anything can happen. Leo Dio says, what's up, man? I'm from Colorado. What if you can't find the vein on a dog that has super short arms? You should be able to find... So, in my opinion, the cephalic vein, the vein on the arm, is the easiest vein to get to. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't try to go to the other veins, because in my opinion, if it's your first time doing it, if you're fairly new to doing it, if you can't find the arm on a short-armed dog, in my opinion, you're probably, newer to doing this. So that's going to be your easiest one to do. What I would suggest is buzz the area, cut the area around the arm, around the vein where it should be. You could use a little buzzer. What you can also do is grab some spray the area, so then you'll see where the vein is raising. Those are little tips and tricks that you can do in order to find that cephalic vein, because in my opinion, like, there's a vein in the neck, there's veins all over, but they're going to be a lot harder to get than the front forearm. So I would try that one. Grab a buzzer, shave the area. I start with, even me, sometimes I have trouble getting the vein. So what I'll use is a spray, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I'll find it. I've never had to buzz the hair there, but some vets, they do that because they have a hard time. So those are some things you can do, but trust me, I would stick to that rather than trying to go into another vein. In my opinion, they're going to be harder. Yusuf Edidrian says, very informative video, good job. I have 4 constipated puppies and I've done enemas on them, which worked really well, but after they got constipated again, I don't want to be doing enemas every day. Do you have any advice? I'll try the mineral oil, but how much should I be putting in a syringe? So if you're dealing with puppies that are constipated and you don't, honestly, in my opinion, it also depends on how old they are. Once you convert them over to mush, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier in my opinion. They start going on their own and things like that. It's easier. It's a lot easier. What you can do for puppies that are constipated, if you don't want to keep doing enemas, it's one of those things that you also may have to keep doing enemas to pass through whatever blockage they got, whatever's going on. But what you can do is give them mineral oil orally. It's actually a laxative. So you could take the mineral oil too, and the same thing will happen. So what you can do is take a very small amount of mineral oil. What I would say is it all goes based over the size of the puppy. But what I consider a small amount is maybe like half a cc, something like that. And go ahead and give that to the dog, and now it'll coat things so it'll come right out. So try the mineral oil, and give it to them orally, and that should help. So anyway, guys, I hope this information was helpful. I hope it was useful. If you want to see more videos like this, drop a comment, let me know, but make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Breeders' Hacks.